There you go. All right. Something a little bit different this week. We are actually recording this on December 18th, Wednesday, December 18th. We have a tasting later tonight on the third week, but next week or the week that you will be watching this is actually falls on Christmas. So first of all, happy holidays, you all.
Woo!
Uh,
Go
and
Chris.
two, yeah, so instead of trying to get people to hop on a call or recording or tasting on during perhaps stressful family holiday times, I figure we'll make a recording and send it out, and you can watch it at your own leisure. Or when you need to get away from your family, you can say, I need to go study some wine. So there you go. And we're
Full bottle
joined,
with you.
yeah, exactly. And we are joined by none other than our own Heidi, who is a bit of a, well, definitely much more than me of an expert in Georgia wine. So I figured it'd be a good chance to have her share some of her knowledge of Georgian wine and the culture. She's traveled there many times for wine as well as work. So yeah, welcome to the recording, Heidi. Thanks for
Thank
making the
you.
time.
It's so nice to be here. And
Or
the
just giving you an excuse to play hooky and do this in the middle of workday. So
Oh,
you're
absolutely. I blocked the calendar and you'll hear emails, but they're dead to me.
excellent, excellent,
This is the future plan for my professional life, so gotta get it done.
excellent. um, for those of you also, yeah, by the time you're watching this, it will be Case Club will be opening the week after, so look out for that. That's for all the wines that we tasted this month. So all the Georgian wines and all this stuff, as well as hits from the past. That email should have gone out. You should be getting that to me by today, right? Because I asked for to send me what you want by Christmas. So let me know if there are any old wines that you want to be featured on Case Club. Hits from the past, let me know, and then I'll check the inventory level and we'll go from there. But that's all the announcements that I have. Besides that, um, only other thing that I have is this month, I mean, you guys already have this, but I put in the chat box. Food for All DC is an organization identified for donation. So if you want to donate alongside Six Foot Wine Club, you can do that. If not, that's totally fine too. Oh, by the way, also, it should be already wrapped up by now, I believe, by the time you watch this. But just in case you're not, you're wondering, next month, January, the theme's going to be Argentina. So we're going to go south of the border, but it's not going to be the typical Malbec, Torrontés, maybe Chardonnay. I'm trying to shine a light on some other aspects of Argentinian wine. So I'm currently keeping my fingers crossed. I'm on a big hunt for high altitude Pinot Noir from Argentina because they make
Oh,
incredible Pinot Noir up in the Andes. But we'll see if the enough inventory is available and what I can find. But either way, there's going to be a bunch of cool, fun stuff that you perhaps normally would not come across in from Argentina. So yeah, just want to showcase something that Argentina is not all about Malbec. So that's fine. Well, I won't be able to take any questions. So do you have any questions, Heidi?
do you know what February will be?
No. Come on now. You know I don't plan that far ahead.
I can
No.
just try. Maybe you have a New Year's resolution. I
And
don't know.
what is a what is the Vin Diesel's famous quote in Fast and Furious? I live my life only 1 mile at a time, or I go 100 miles 1 mile at a time. I don't
Yeah,
know, something like that. Anyways, you get the
definitely not gonna go watch it to
yeah,
verify.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, you roll.
Uh, I mean, also it's one of the greatest franchises of all time. So, just saying.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. So today we're gonna wrap up the Georgia month with, of course, the probably the most well-known, I would say. I don't know, maybe it's arguable whether Saperavi is the most well-known or Rackatelli is the most well-known, but it's one of the most popular grape
I
varieties.
think people talk about Saperavi more because it's easier to say than their Cazzotelli.
Fair, That's fair. But yeah, definitely one of the most popular Georgian varieties, or at least most better, well-known Georgian varieties, which is Saperavi. So we're tasting 2021 Veluri Saperavi is what we're tasting today. It should be the last one. And I'm gonna make some reference to the week before, which is interesting because Heidi, you haven't tasted it yet. But third week's wine versus this week's wine, which are the two red wines, but red wine grape varieties, but very different, completely different, polar opposite spectrum in stylistically speaking. The other one is like lighter, brighter, even the color is much lighter. And this one is like inky, deep, and all of that. So anyways, let's start with a map because we always do. And Heidi, jump in at any point. I mean, I'll cue you in if I see if you have anything to add. But at any point, if something pops you, just feel free to jump in. Anyways, here's the map. You've seen this. You've all seen this every week this month. But again, as a review, in case you're wondering where Georgia is. It's right here. It's next to Turkey, north of Iran, Iraq, Syria. So north of Levant, east of Turkey, north is Russia, and then on the west is the Black Sea. To the right is the Caspian Sea. So, it's as you can imagine, geopolitically speaking, very, very fortunate, but as well as probably unfortunate place to be in. There's been a lot of invasions and different cultures and civilization that have come through here. But the upside of anytime there's been a kind of invasion or colonization and all of that is that the food tends to be delicious. And then the wines tend to be a really good thing. So there's some upside to colonization. I don't know. Can I say that? I don't know. So
as a non-white guy, maybe.
Yeah, maybe I should. Yeah, I can't say that because I'm not a white guy. How about that? All you white people out there, don't be saying that shit. But anyways, yeah, there you go. But yeah, it's right by. In case you're also wondering where Armenia, Azerbaijan were, it's right there, right next to Georgia. If you look more closely, this is what Georgia looks like. Black Sea on the left, right here, right? And then these are all the wine regions. As you can see, it's made all over Georgia. Even though Kakheti, which is where we are this week, by the way, last week's wine was in Imereti, which is in the middle right here. So 3 wines that we tasted this month are all from Kakheti, and with the 1 wine being Imereti. But that also reflects on the fact that most of the wines that are made in Georgia is made in Kakheti. Oh, lost Heidi. Just right now. Maybe she'll come back in. Shall see. Let me text her real quick, just make sure things are all right. Heidi. Just lost you. Oh, there you go. Just coming back in. We good?
I can hear you.
Heidi? Oh, sorry guys, we're having some technical difficulties here. I'm gonna stop the recording right now, and then I'll come back on when Heidi comes back. All right, Heidi's back. Sorry, we had a little bit of technical difficulty there. But anyways, I was in the middle of saying, Heidi, as you can see, Georgia the wine is made all over. It's not just in Kakheti, even though that's where the most amount of vine coverage as well as the most amount of wine is made. So it is by far the most significant area in terms of winemaking. Having said that, the wine is made all over. I mean, it's not just here. And this month's box kind of reflects that. 3 out of 4 wines came from Kakheti, and there's 1, which is what we're tasting later tonight. So third week is from what we tasted last week, so Imereti here. But
I think Imereti is the second most.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Have you, Heidi, have you traveled kind of extensively all throughout, or have you just been to Kakheti, or yeah, what is your experience like?
So most of my travel was to Tbilisi, and then I would travel through Imereti to Adyara, which is that blue region on the coast. So I've had a ton of Adyara wine, and a ton of Kakheti. I have a friend who's got, I mean, I know a lot of people who have like country homes in Kakheti, so probably my next trip I'll arrange to go out there. So yeah, but then the Samagrello, wait, not Samagrello. Is Samagrello the light? No. It's Cartelli, right?
Yeah.
The like rusty orange color. I've had tons of wine and I've gone to a couple wineries just outside of Tbilisi.
Yeah, makes sense. In your travels, has the wine style been widely different depending on?
Very different. Yeah, most of what's imported into the United States is Cazzutelli and Saperavi, and Cazzutelli is the most planted white wine grape. I want to say by a long shot, and then Saperavi is the most planted red wine grape. And because Kakheti is so famous and so well known, that's probably why so much of it is exported, and there's very, very little of any of the other regions. But when you're there, just any wine shop, they're very, very dedicated to their wine. So it's very difficult to find any wine imports. But you can, you can find anything and everything under the sun, every style. Just tell them what you're looking for. They've got it. So it's an adventure land.
Yeah. And that's kind of the message that, or one of the things that I really wanted people to take away from this month's box is that, the Georgian wine is not this kind of monolith. We think of Georgian wine as this like really tannic, orange amber wine, or like really big, punching the face, Saperavis, high alcohol, big red wines. And those things certainly exist. But there exists styles that are so many different other styles besides that.
Right.
So hopefully these kind of 4 bottles gave some folks or triggered their curiosity to explore more. And I'm one of them. I had, admittedly, I'm not exactly the most well-versed when it comes down to Georgian wine. I've never worked with Georgian wine, honestly, professionally, in a restaurant setting. I've tasted them, as a consumer, but even then, I've only tasted very like small, certain styles of it. So having gone through this month and having tasted for it, I really grew a whole new level of appreciation and respect for that diversity of style. So yeah, I really implore everybody to get out there and find more stuff because it's cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's also a dichotomy in the wine culture. The embargoes on the Russian wine economy definitely allowed winemakers to sort of reclaim the wine culture there, because so much of the exports were to Russia, and they're very interested in those like heavily extracted, deep inky reds and then slightly sweet. There's a wine called Kinsmiroli that is very traditionally Georgian, and everyone in the Soviet Union knows it. And so when you meet with, greet with, spend time with like the older generations in Georgia, that's more of the style you're going to get. But younger generations that are really coming in, there's tons of that experimentation happening. There's a really huge pet nat wave there. And you'll find pet nat in every kind of grape, just because they're trying it all out to show and showcase their 500 plus varieties of grapes. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about this, touch upon this, and I'm going to rely on you to talk more about it because I also know you are a bit of a Russia and Soviet expert. But even this wine, this is made from 50-year-old, at least 50-year-old vines. And we're going to talk about how that is such a rare and difficult thing to find in Georgia. And, because of Soviet influence and all of that. But even this wine, Saperavi, has been around from the probably beginning of probably Georgian winemaking. But the stylistically, they've changed this even to make it a little more modern and more approachable. And that's all because of the young people that are coming in. So, and we'll talk about that when we get to the actual wine. But yeah, so here's a map. Go out there, explore, check it out. But for the most part, know that the wines you're probably going to find in the market, that's Georgia, is probably coming from Kaheti, which is this green part in the eastern part of Georgia, known for really fertile soil. Climate-wise, it's warm. Really, really kind of a right setting to grow grapes, honestly. So it does get quite cold there in the wintertime, especially as you go up in the mountains. But yeah. All right, so we're in Georgia. We're in Kaheti, back in Kaheti again, which is the east part of Georgia. And then it doesn't say on this map, but this winery is in the village of Kisiskhevi. Kisiskhevi? God damn it, I can never pronounce these things.
There's virtually no information on the label, so I don't know.
I'm gonna put that in the chat.
Yeah, show me in the chat.
Yeah. Kisiskhevi? Kisiskhevi?
Kisiskhevi.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy. The double S.
Kisiskhevi. But that's where we are at the village. It's in the eastern part of Kaheti. All right, so let's talk about who makes this wine, which is this family. So this one, Veluri, if you are actually, which is what Heidi did, and I did for at first as well. Veluri is actually a private label. It's made by this family, which is the. All right, how do I pronounce his last name now? It's I'm gonna put it in the chat box. You let me know, Heidi, how you pronounce this name. Is Gogi? Gogi?
Gogi. Dakishvili.
Okay, Gogi Dakishvili.
Dakishvili. Yeah.
Gogi Dakishvili. You know what's funny? Gogi means meat in Korean.
Oh, Gogi, yeah.
Yeah, Gogi, exactly. Gogi Dakishvili is a man on the left in this picture. The smiling man on the left, the patriarch of the family, the dad. But anyways, Veluri is a private label that's made for the Terraneo merchant, who's the importer of this wine into the States. They wanted to make and then this family owns Orgo Winery, ORGO. Pretty well known, pretty reputable winery. You can find it pretty easily in US market as well, here in DC market as well. But the Terraneo wanted to make it a little more quote unquote bistro style, meaning they wanted to do a little less extraction. So Orgo also makes their Saperavi. They usually put it on the skins for 3 months, but they actually reduced the amount of extraction time to 1 month. So 1/3 of what you would normally find the Saperavi that this family makes, just to make it a little more approachable, less extraction of anthocyanin, which is the color compounds, color phenol, and then as well as the tannins and all of that. It's also picked a little bit earlier than what they use, their Saperavi, their Orgo Saperavi, just to kind of emphasize and preserve freshness over power, and then keep the alcohol a little reined in. Saperavi is capable of making quite high alcohol red wines. And then there's also no intervention whatsoever here. This is no sulfur added. This is 0.0 wine. So yeah, they just want to make something that's just really fresh, unadulterated freshness over power kind of a style of Saperavi, and then that's what this is. So you won't find this necessarily if you try to find Veluri winery, and then you're gonna find Milani Veluri that will pop up. That's a completely different winery than here. So, and from our research, Veluri means Google translates it as velvet, but Heidi, you were saying it also means wild.
I think it's velvet in a different language. I think it's wild in Georgia.
Okay, so I get Veluri means wild.
Maybe.
Maybe, yeah. It either means wild or velvet or something completely different, but no, nobody knows. But anyways, yeah. So this is a family. They run a winery called Orgo, and Veluri is a private label project that Orgo, this family, makes for Turani merchants to create this kind of a more fresher bistro style Saperavi. They source their grapes, and this is what we're going to talk about, the 50-year-old kind of grapes. They source their grapes from at least 50-year-old vines that may not sound like much, right? We've featured wines that have 100-plus-year-old vines and all of that. You're like 50-year-old, that's not even that old. I mean, it is old, but it's not that old, right? In grand spectrum of things. But making wines from old vines in Georgia is a really kind of a rare, difficult thing to do because of the Soviet Union era. Which lasted all the way to 1991. So not only a lot of these kind of older traditional indigenous vines that have been planted there for a long time got ripped up and kind of got replaced during the Soviet Union era to plant grape varieties that were more suiting to the Russian or Soviet palate. Also, I mean, just economically, or 50, 60 years ago, it was impossible to own land, anything private in Georgia because of the Soviet Union. So people did not own any land. It wasn't until 1992 that land privatization became effective after the fall of the Soviet Union. So really, most of wineries now, their own land and vines and all of that, I mean, they didn't have a right to that land or the vines until 1992. So really, really a pretty special thing to find winery and places that work with old vines, like 50-year-old vines in Georgia, which is crazy to think about because this is a country of 8,000-year-old plus winemaking tradition. Yet most people don't even get to work with 50-year-old vines, which is wild to think about. Any thoughts, Heidi? Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, under the Soviet Union, they were really maximizing. They were focused on production, fast and high volume. So Saperavi is one of the lucky grapes, I would say. It was well liked, heavily extracted. It can gain a lot of alcohol, so that was favorable to the Russian market. And I want to say something like 75% of exports are still to Russia. There's this annual report I get that I can share, but it's still a pretty important market for the Georgians. And Saperavi is one of those grapes it's big, it's inky, and it can gain a lot of alcohol, which is the main consumer product for Russian. There's also big exports to Ukraine and Moldova. Like Georgian food and Georgian wine is sort of like Mexican tacos and tequila to Americans, as an analogy. It's just that loved. And also Stalin was Georgian. And so, his preferences for food and wine traveled to Moscow. And so it's sort of that socialization of that cuisine was big.
I did not know that Joseph Stalin was Georgian.
Yes.
Ah, did not know that. Okay. Anyways, to give you a little more background on this family's history or background. So Gogi's great-grandfather was a priest in the church. He was one of the first in the family who started making wine because of his, Christian faith, and obviously Christians using wine, doing masses, and all of that. And that's how we got started. But interestingly or tragically enough, that exact same faith is what basically brought him to his eventual end. So Gogi's great-great-grandfather was killed because of his Christian belief during Soviet times in 1929. Then the death in the family just kind of stuck around. So Gogi's grandfather couldn't continue family's winemaking tradition, because he also died very young at the age of 27 during the World War II. Gogi's father is the first one after his great-great-grandfather who finally was able to kind of pick up the family tradition after the political strife that plagued his family. So Gogi's father was able to attend a winemaking school, and he became an enologist. And then Gogi actually didn't want, again, this man right here on the left, he didn't want to be a winemaker at first. So he got his quote-unquote proper education in Russia. But he just ended up falling back in love with the family tradition, which is winemaking, working at an enology facility. And that's where he also met his wife. So both he and his wife are enologists, even though I'm not sure what his wife's role is here in the family winery, but this is kind of what he does. Gogi has 3 children. Temuri, which is the older son, which is on the far right here. He's also a winemaker in the Taliani Valley, and he consults for other wineries as well. So he's also in the wine trade. And David, or David, who's this kid in the middle, is a 14-year-old son. He's interested in wine already. So he assists Gogi in winemaking at age of 14. And then I assume this lady, I couldn't get any information on these 2 ladies in the picture, but I assume this is Temuri's wife. I couldn't tell if this is Gogi's wife, or Gogi also has another daughter who became a doctor and does not work in family tradition or family business. But so I can't tell if this is his wife or this is his daughter. But yeah, there's a mysterious woman in this picture. Could be David's sister, or it could be Gogi's wife. Who knows? But
they have big families. We don't know.
Yeah, and also interestingly enough, or maybe not so interestingly, or maybe not so surprisingly, you go to their website. I mean, I got this information from their website directly, but it's like the sons and the men have their names written on the website, like David and Temuri, but whether this is wife or daughter, like it just says Gogi's daughter became a doctor, and she also loves wine, is what it says. So there you go.
Let me be clear. Everybody in Georgia loves wine.
Yeah.
And it's not a generalization. They're very proud of their wine culture. Many part, there's UNESCO World Heritage connected to Kvevery, to the PDOs. So everybody loves wine there. Sorry to interrupt you.
No. All good. I mean, yeah, obviously I have never been there, and honestly, this month is really making me want to go there. But from everything that I've read and everything that I've watched, it's basically the wine is such an integral part of the Georgian heritage, like culture, national identity.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. It's awesome. Also, it's worth mention that Gogi's maternal grandfather was also a famous Kvery master. So wine, needless to say, wine runs deep in this family. And the Dakishvili family. Did I say that right? Dakishvili?
Dakishvili.
Okay. They farm 10 hectares in total and produce wines from only indigenous varieties. Saperavi is the only red variety that they produce. And then they produce a bunch of other white varieties as well. But yeah, that's what they do. What is this wine? Oh, sorry. I also meant to share this real quick. Just wanted to show some other pictures I have. This is their cellar. So this is their Kvery buried in the ground. They use both red, quite large Kvery and a small Kvery. And then during winemaking, they essentially, after about 3 months or so, they actually separate out the skins and basically rack the wine off of the skins and the stems, and then put it back in these big cuveres, and obviously that will leave them room, and then they have to fill that back up to avoid oxidation. So they use small cuveres filled with wine to go and top off all these basic with cuveres, and essentially that's what you see here. These are some of the smaller ones here, and the ones in the back are much bigger ones. That's why the spacing is quite different here. So what is this wine? Just like all their Georgian producers, Gogi does not publish any tech sheets, so it's very hard to find technical information. But because this is a private label by the importer, so I was able to ask them. 100% old vine, organic Saperavi, at least 50 years old, like I mentioned. Pretty rare thing. Actually, before, and then it's fermented and aged in cuvee with a 1 month of maceration versus a 3 months, which is normally what they do, just to keep it fresh. And then it's bottled, unfiltered, unfined, with no sulfites added at any point during vinification. So we're talking about natty with a capital N thrown in here.
So you're saying if we got a bottle of Orgo Saperavi, which is 3 months maceration, and a bottle of this, we could do a side by side to see the impact.
Theoretically, yes, that's what I've been told. Yeah. So
okay.
So if you want to see what 2 more months of us, being on the skins, what it does to a wine style, then there you go. Yeah. This is also picked a little bit earlier than what the Orgos is. So Orgos will probably have a little bit higher alcohol, a little more ripeness. But I mean, this is still pretty ripe though. I don't think this is underripened. Yeah.
And also, I was just like to give kind of if anyone is interested in doing like a horizontal of Saperavi, Dr. Frank's in New York does a Saperavi rosé, and they also have like a plain.
Oh, did we lose you again? Uh-oh, might have lost her again. I'm going to stop the recording one more time. Let's see when she comes back. We're back on. Sorry, we keep having technical difficulties. I'm not sure if it's mine, if it's Heidi's, most likely Heidi's.
I'm the
all that rural Virginia infrastructure, just the Fauquier County.
I'm amongst the vines.
Yeah, the Warrenton infrastructure is just not quite up to par.
I'll call City Hall. So I was recommending, like, if you want to do a vertical to see Saperavi's styles, you could definitely have this, and then Orgo, which is pretty easy to get in the United States. But then there are a few Virginia wineries that make Saperavi, but Saperavi is a pretty big grape for Dr. Constantine Frank's winery in upstate New York. So they have a rosé and it's not Kisiskhevi aged, but I think it's oak aged. I can look it up and send it to you. But they also have every year what's called Saperica, which is this like festival, Georgian wine festival in upstate New York. And it's pretty cool. I haven't made it yet, but I plan to. But it's run by Georgians working out of Boston. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of Georgian wine in a lot of restaurants in New York City. So, next time you're in New York City, they're not hard to find. I can recommend some. Obviously, Washington, D.C. has a lot going on in that arena. Supra has they had their own wine club for a while, but you can purchase wine from there, and their bar area is a great place to go try things out. So, sorry, that's my spiel on that.
Rich with resources. Yeah, if you shoot those over, I'll send them out with send this out the email recording. But yeah, to Heidi's point, I was actually quite surprised. Last time I was in Finger Lake region, which is, I don't know, pre-pandemic at this point. But that was the first time that I realized that they were really trying to grow Saperavi and wine up there. And I was actually quite surprised by the quality of Saperavi that was coming out of there. And again, admittedly, being a bit of a Georgian wine noob, I was like, how does Saperavi grow here? Like, it's such a big grape variety. Like, it must grow in a hot place like Georgia. Like, how is it that they're able to grow in a cold place like this? But turns out I was wrong on so many fronts. And one, it does get pretty cold in Georgia in the wintertime. The climate there is
It's
pretty.
basically cold resistant.
Yeah, exactly. It's very cold, but Saperavi, one of the reasons why it was favored, not only by the Soviet, but also it made it through the Georgian history a lot, was because it's very cold resistant. It's able to withstand very, very cold weather. And on top of that, it's able to produce these kind of like big, dark, inky, high alcohol, hold on to that. Um, so, which means it can also age very long. Because of all that polyphenolic compounds that it has. So yeah, I was very wrong to think that it couldn't grow there. So it makes sense why they would start experimenting with it in Finger Lakes, because it also gets pretty warm there in the summertime, but it also gets very cold in the wintertime. So yeah, I can see why that happens. But yeah, that's probably. I haven't had a whole lot of Saperavi out of US, but that's the only place that is memorable that I remember Saperavi being like, oh yeah, this is actually quite good. I've had some
Saperavi from Ukraine, I think. Didn't we have some Saperavi from Ukraine at that tasting?
probably, yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, there were a lot of weird grapes. Don't expect you to remember all of them.
I've had some Saperavi grown in Australia.
Oh,
It's fine. It was fine.
wow.
I mean, quite frankly, oftentimes I think Saperavi is just fine. But
It's the Cab Sauv, in my opinion, of
right.
red grapes. Like, you can do a lot with it. You can express with it. It is stable. It is safe to grow. It is not a high risk to order the bottle, let alone grow the wine.
Right.
Grow the wine grapes.
And that's kind of what I said to the rep when I tasted this wine. It's like, listen, like, I'm not sure, like, this is my, like, to be completely honest, like, this is what I would veer towards. Having said that, if Saperavi was more made in this, like, a little more approachable, fresher style, I can see myself at least drinking more of it with it, particularly with the right kind of food, like lamb chops, like lamb kofta, like things like that. This would be fantastic with all of that. So, cool meats of any
And they
sort.
have a lot of, like, like, they call it shashlik, but it's shish kebabs.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing. Like, it's one of the big courses is, just piles of grilled meat, roasted veggies, grilled veggies. So that's what gets served with that course.
Exactly. This is perfect for that. This is a perfect thing. I also found out while doing some little research on Saperavi, part of the reason, I mean, you wouldn't think it here. I mean, even this is pretty inky and dark, but there's some Saperavis that will fucking stain you glass. Like, that's how much color.
Correct.
Pigmentation will come out.
Research for you. Saperavi means something to color with or to dye.
Yeah, dye.
So they'll literally use it as dye in some cases. Yeah,
there's so much, little geeky hour here. So this is the, I'm going to put it in the chat box, but anthocyanin is a polyphenolic compound that gives black grapes that color. It's a color compound. And then most grapes, the anthocyanin is only found in the skins. So, that's why you see, like, Blanc de Noir, for example, from Champagne, right? Like, even though it's made from black grapes, there's no color on it because the actual fruit inside is white. There's no anthocyanin, there's no color compound. So as soon as you press it off, you get it off the skin, you don't actually get any color. But with Saperavi, even pressing it, you will get color because the actual pulp itself has anthocyanin in it. Just to give you an idea of how inky Saperavi can get. So imagine if this is 1 month, imagine what 3 months of Saperavi skin and all that pulp extraction would be like. So,
is that in grape lingo, we'd call it a tincture, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I just want to give a little shout out to these guys, and I'm sure Heidi, you're familiar with them. Wines of Georgia. They are based right out here in DC. They are an importer of Georgian wines into this area. They also distribute to other parts of the country. But they not only the wine, but they're kind of the big ambassadors of Georgian culture. So they have quite a bit of good information, not only on grape varieties and wine, but also the food, the people, the music, the culture, even some travel tips and how to get there, the things to do. So check it out. Wines of Georgia. I put the link in the chat box. So check them out. They're local importer. So anything else, Heidi? Did I miss anything?
Yes, Saperavi is my research. Lisa Gronick's book is in front of me. She talks about Saperavi as a very ancient grape. There's a huge diversity of clones. Ampelographers, which I think
there's another geeky word over there.
Another geeky word, studying Saperavi over 150 years, have discussed at least 17 variations and clones.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, and many have colorful and evocative names, mostly like, I think, describing the kind of Saperavi. So you have, she gives examples, Saperavi Budeshurish Spori, which is Saperavi with prolonged berries. There's different variations and mutations with like round berry and small number and things like that. I'm trying to think. And sometimes they're like named after the people that discovered them, you know, that normal homage type of thing. But they have there's some really interesting research from it. I'm not gonna, go too crazy on it, but
Yeah.
it is interesting, some of the research that they've been willing to do, and obviously they've invested a lot of money in archaeology and study of the grapes, just, to help boost the narrative of the history there.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, I haven't read the book that Heidi's talking about that has been recommended to me by some other people as well. That is a very good resource. So if any of you want to go deep down into Georgian wine, I know Heidi's put it in the chat box in the past of the wine, of the books. But yeah, check it out. But know that yeah, if you really want to study all the Georgian grape varieties, it is a undertaking of like a mad person. Like that's insane.
It's not insane. It just, it's truly going to be, it's truly going to be something where you are going into the unknown. These are not languages. This is not a language. Georgian is not a language that's anything you've ever heard or seen before. So you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And you have to be comfortable stumbling through the words. They will help you wherever you are. But that's the fun of it, right? Because wine there's just so much expansion of the universe of wine that's what's really interesting to me about Georgian wine. But like people, it's hard because consumers get shy about even ordering French wine, and French wine is the most known wine, especially the words. And so you can't be you can't have pride about it because everyone's gonna say it wrong, but it's about learning. So
yeah, and it's kind of cool because like it's so old that it's kind of new again. Like even Georgia people there don't know every variety because it's just actually nobody knows what these varieties are because it's just been around for so long and it's got out of style, almost went extinct and almost came back. So it's like it's so old that it's new. People are rediscovering these kind of ancient varieties, and that's I don't know. I think that's kind of cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. Question for you, just so that go to Georgia. So when you go to Georgia and when you're drinking there, is everybody just drinking Georgian wines? Are they drinking any other wines, or is it just always Georgian wine?
Let me think through this. I No, everyone's drinking Georgian wine. This
Oh.
might be, I might have skewed this because of who I am and what I ask for when I get there. And
Yeah.
people know that I love the Georgian wine and I want to try something new. But generally speaking, you know, the food is served with Georgian wine. The only time you're going to get like French wine is if you find a French restaurant or something like that. Very low on imports. They have this place called 8,000 Vintages, which is a wine shop and kind of a wine cafe bar. You walk in, there's a place to taste wine. So you can buy any bottle you want. It's just like floor to ceiling and shelves of wine. And then they have like charcuterie boards and bread and all that kind of stuff to order. And you can, they have a pretty good by the glass list, but usually people just buy a bottle and share it. And that's
cool.
standard.
Yeah.
Not every bar or pub is going to have great Georgian wine. You know, it's just like anywhere, some are buying, you know, the $2 a bottle wine, but for the most part you can find something pretty good if you're looking at like the middle range. There are also a couple of like winery restaurants depending on where you are, like in Ajata there's one that is pretty typical to go to, and they like do big, you know, it's the whole evening. That's part of dinner, like Supra is a whole evening, but even then dinner culture is it's late. You're not going to like 7:30, 8. You're not leaving till like 11. So, you know, you tuck in, you just hang out, get ready for a good amount of wine to keep flowing.
Yeah. And from what I hear, like wine drinking is a big part of Supra. It's in fact, it's like disrespectful for you to not drink wine when a host offers you wine.
It's true. Let me see. There's this, I have a Georgian cookbook. I brought it up just in case. So you could see they have at the beginning this like traditions of Supra. And it's all about kind of there's a very important order of toast. You have the tomato, which is the toast master.
Very ritualistic is what I heard too.
Very ritualistic. Even down to like, you know, where the wine's from sometimes, if you're using a kansi, which is the drinking horn, like a ram's horn type thing. Yeah, and it's very prescriptive. And yes, let me see if they have the anticipated list of toasts. There's a good like guide to being a tomata, and it literally tells you what order all the toasts go in, so I can share that too. But
all right.
But the tomato's job is also to make sure you don't get drunk too fast. It's sort of like a bacchanal, right? Where everyone just has to stay at the right level, and it's your job to make sure everyone has a drink but is not drinking too much.
Yeah. Love it. And I know there's also a big cha-cha, is that what it's called? The brandy.
Yeah, cha-cha is this number 10 right here.
Yeah.
That little guy. It is, let's see, cha-cha is a traditional high-degree vodka or brandy product left after pressing the grape, which gave the name to its drink, or gave the name to this drink.
Yeah.
Very popular. They drink it with kinkali, kashi, and various marinades. And they make beer as well and Georgian brandy.
Do they drink it at the end of the meal, or is that just kind of like something you drink at different part of the evening?
Depends on how college boy it gets. Usually near the end, there's cha-cha starts getting poured. It's not, it's painful.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it any good? I mean, I fucking hate grappa. I'm not a big grappa person, so I can't imagine that would like cha-cha because it's essentially Georgian grappa.
Yeah. Rakia, grappa, vodka. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it's not good because I mean, it warms you. If you're cold, you get warm. You know, there are benefits, but it is, you know, it's part of the tradition, so you drink it.
All right, pointed.
Yeah.
All right. Anything to add? Anything else before we get into tasting?
Nope. We should probably taste.
Okay, let's taste it. All right. Here we
I've
go.
already been very geeky.
Yep. There's probably more information on Georgia than people wanted. So
What did they expect? They were like, oh, Heidi's on this.
hey, at least you're self-aware.
I'm self-aware.
All right, let's start from the appearance. Well, you and I will just do it together.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's see.
Appearance. It looks pretty clear.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, but like I can tell this is not a fined or filtered wine here.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been sitting, decanting or settling for a while and it got racked off. But yeah, this is definitely not a fined wine. There's no like translucency and bright kind of a reflection of the wine. So I would still call this clear, yes. But yeah, just noting that it's not fined wine. Intensity, I mean, this is deep.
Yeah, it's deep. It's
I can't
barely
see any,
see through at the edge. So
yeah, I can't see shit through the middle. Like, so in case you're wondering what deep looks like, this is
looks
deep.
like this is it.
Yeah, this is deep. Color, what do you think?
Color. Oh, it is. It's. I think I've got ruby on this. It's not. Maybe it's just my light, but like it's not so purple.
Yeah,
It's kind of between. Yeah, I think it's more ruby than purple.
exactly. And that's what I wanted to point out, which is that, yes, I would still probably call this ruby as a major, but I would definitely throw in here, there's a little bit of like a bluish, purplish tinge to it. And that's very typical Saperavi. There are not many great varieties that give this kind of bluish, purplish tinge, particularly the blue hue. Malbec is famously another one, but Saperavi is definitely another one. That all that anthocyanin, it just has all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I would say ruby with a like a purplish, bluish tinge is what I would call this deep. Any other observations?
No.
Yeah.
No bubbles. No.
Great. Let's go to the nose.
Okay. This wine is clean.
This one is clean. This one is sound.
Intensity. It's medium plus. Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
It was
it's
medium plus. Yeah, I'm like over here.
It's got reach.
Yep. Because medium plus aromas of what do you get?
Definitely the dark fruits. Black
Yeah.
fruits, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not catching maybe some rose.
Yeah, to me there's a touch of floral component here.
Yeah.
But there's
It's not like a Barolo rose. It's
yeah, I mean like is it violet? Is it to me it's like a blue flowery kind of a thing.
blue flower.
Yeah. But yeah, touch of floral here for sure. Any green, citrus, stone, tropical?
No.
Yeah, exactly. Red fruit, black fruit.
I would say black cherry,
Yeah.
black plum.
Yeah, to me, this is all going to black fruit territory here. Yeah, black cherry, black plum, a lot of that black plummy kind of a thing.
It's still pretty bright. It's pretty bright. This is a 2021 vintage. It's pretty bright.
Yep.
I wouldn't say it might be a little jammy.
It's ripe. The fruit quality is very ripe. Like there's nothing under ripe about this, but I wouldn't call this like confectionery cooked.
No, it's just like a little bit, I don't know. Maybe then it's a little overripe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe if anything, going to overripe.
Yeah, it's not cooked at all.
Really, really ripe fruit. But yeah, to me, there's not like the cooked nature here. It's still fresh fruit. But yeah, plum, cherry, like blackberry, all of that for sure. Maybe some blueberry. I keep going to blue because now my brain is primed to think.
Your brain's just there, just stuck. I don't have any herbaceousness or herbal. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I don't get much herbaceous herbal things like this. I do get some pepper here, a little bit of like almost like a licorice, maybe also like a little black pepper here. But yeah, like
the licorice, yeah.
But it's not it's the people use this word all the time, but I don't particularly fully agree with it. People say the whole cluster spiciness. When the wine is made with a whole cluster, which is what this is, it has stems, it has seeds, it has skins and everything on the contact. It's definitely whole clustery on this one. If like this
But
was
it's even then it's very tame.
yeah. It's not over the top. Again, 1 month versus 3 months,
1 month. Yeah, but it's
So
surprising that it's not given, it's picked earlier.
yeah, it wouldn't be like herbaceous, like maybe
Yeah.
yeah,
Hey,
agreed.
good thinking.
Yeah, agreed. There's no like vegetal kind of a savoriness here. There's some of the whole cluster savoriness, really like ripe when the stems have been already lignified, which is another key word to meaning when it goes from like green stem to like a brown wooden stem. That's called lignification. Yeah, and then flavor tastes very different. When it's green, it's very like vegetable and savory, and then when it's brown and woody, and it gets a little bit of this whole culture kind of like savory, quote unquote spice. Because to me, it's not a spice, but like there's definitely some savory note, whole cluster savory note that's going on here. That also get a little bit of a like turn to pepper here as well. Any minerality?
No, not really. Maybe
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
And again, this is not meant to be like super crazy, complex, over top Saperavi. Like they wanted to make this really simple, approachable, kind of delicious, again, quote unquote, bistro style Saperavi. So, any secondary, any tertiary?
I would not say secondary.
Yeah, me neither.
It's not a highly complex wine. On tertiary, what they bottled it. Let me see. No.
So
I don't get a ton of there's no cooked fruit, as we already mentioned. It's not dried fruit. Maybe like tobacco-y, but that might be also the grape. So
I mean, you are literally stealing the words that I was thinking. So yeah, if anything, if I was going to call anything out here, like tobacco is what comes to me.
yeah.
But that's not from the bottle aging or tertiary. We're talking about that whole cluster thing that we're talking about, that kind of savory kind of nature of it, tobacco nature that I get a touch of. But besides that, yeah, I mean, we're talking about very much a primary driven, fresh, kind of youthful kind of wine. All right, let's taste it. This is a kind of wine, if you drank this all night, you would have to go brush your teeth. Like
Yeah.
I can already feel this just coating my entire gum teeth.
Yeah, if you're out on a date and you go to Supra, don't order stuff. It's huge. Like it takes some, like this is my first drink of anything but water today, I think. And this is massive.
It's big. Yeah. So imagine that, like this is not light. I mean, it's not, it's big, but in a grand spectrum of all styles of Saperavi that exists out there, there's not even that big. Like there's Saperavs out there that will literally rip your fucking,
It's tame.
right? Exactly.
It's very nice.
It's there, right?
It's
You
there,
feel
but
it.
it's nice and fine, and like it's almost like a little tickle. It's not drying. It's like a little. What's nice?
Yeah. Saperavi 10 can be really chewy and really big and rustic, and this is much finer. And I think it's just picking it a bit early, doing less extra extraction, and this is exactly what they're trying to do. Again, more bistro style, make it more approachable, easier to kind of pound, so to speak. rather than something that really needs bite of food with every sip because it's so fucking massive and tannic. All right, so definitely dry. What would you call acidity of this?
Acidity? I'd say like oh, it's like medium.
Yeah, I'll call this medium.
It's not insane.
Yeah, I mean, Saperavi is never going to get that high in acidity anyway. But yeah, medium, maybe like a higher end of medium. But yeah, I'll call this medium for sure. Tannin, we're just talking about it. Let's put some actual quantifier on it.
Yeah, I'd say medium.
Yeah, I'll call this our medium. And again, Saperavi can get to high. Like, you ever wonder what high 10 feels like? Saperavi can be that high. And this is intentionally made in a way to reduce the tannin. So I'll call this my medium myself. And Heidi's comment about the kind of the nature of the tannin rather than this kind of rustic, dusty, chewy kind of a tannin. This is a lot more of that kind of like fine grain. It's not the finest grain tannin out there. It's still Saperavi after all, but relatively speaking to all other Saperavis, this is much finer. So
yeah.
Alcohol.
I'd throw it as a medium. It's probably like a 12.5, 13.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 13 myself.
13.5.
13.5.
It doesn't feel hot. It's pretty balanced.
Yeah. I mean, again, Saperavi and Heidi both talked about it. It's capable of getting up to like 15. I've seen like 15 and a half Saperavi in the past. So it can get pretty hot. So yeah, the fact that they're reeling this back.
You see that? You're like, you were on the wrong boat. You're supposed to go to Russia. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, make it for the experiment, but man. Ooh.
Yeah. So yeah, the fact that this 13 and a half is right on the higher end of medium, but again, right squarely in the medium territory. So yeah, call this medium. And I appreciate it. This is exactly what I mean. Like, and you guys all know who've been around for a while and start to understand my palate. Like, I'm not a big, massive wine guy. Like, and that's part of the reason why Saperavi has never really spoken to me. But with this one, like, to me, this is like way more balanced. To me, the alcohol's not out of whack, tannin's not out of whack. The acid is there. It's big, but it's still manageable. It's so enjoyable, I should say. Body.
I'd give the body a medium.
Mhm.
It's not, again, that massive. Everything's there and all the components are there, but the body itself isn't.
Yeah, I'm gonna call this medium myself, maybe moving towards higher end of medium. I feel like a lot of these things I'm kind of hitting in that still medium, but like higher end of medium is kind of where I'm feeling it. But yeah, I'll call this about medium as well. And Saperavi, those 15.5% Saperavi that's been extracted for like 3+ months, like that will get up to medium plus for, I mean, massive wines.
Absolutely.
Mousse, we don't have to talk about. Flavor intensity.
I would give it, I would say medium. I think all the same notes are there, like the characteristics are primary, but the intensity of it is bigger on the nose than it is.
Yep. I don't know. To me, I'm gonna go with the medium plus on this one. That's one thing about this wine. That's actually one thing about a lot of Georgian wines. I feel like the intensity is not something that you lack in Georgian wines.
Oh, no. It's usually like finesse it a little, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It lacks finesse, it lacks elegance, but intensity is not something you lack in Georgian wine. And especially Saperavi, something that's kind of big. So yeah, I'm gonna put this on medium plus as well. Are you checking off all the things that you mentioned on the nose? Anything else?
I still get black fruit. The pepper, I wish it was peppery, but I don't feel like I'm not getting pepper.
Yeah, I called it pepper earlier, but more and more it's really the whole cluster thing. It's not just pepper, potential black pepper, but yeah, kind of savory, not vegetal, but like, yeah. I mean, I guess it's a little vegetal, but yeah, tobacco-y kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think the tobacco is there.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I tasted tobacco on the end.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's nice. It's an interesting, it's adding interest where there isn't, again, it's meant to be more approachable.
Yeah, exactly.
So
It's not just
nice.
a fruit juice,
Yeah.
So yeah, all the things, little violet, mostly all black fruit here, plum, cherry, blackberry, all that, really ripe, fresh, but ripe. None of the kind of like the green notes, but that tobacco-y, leafy, savory thing. And then not much of a minerality per se, just mostly on fruit. But yeah, Bisher wine. That's exactly what Bisher wine is supposed to be like. So no secondary, no tertiary, really fresh, youthful, just kind of primary wine. Finish. How long?
So, dry, it's medium acidity, medium tannin, sort of
Length.
medium to high alcohol.
Wait, hold on. But the length. How long is the
Oh,
finish?
the length, the finish. Sorry, I thought we were going straight to conclusions. Oh, the finish. I'd say it's medium plus. It lasts, it lingers. It's there. My mouth's still watering.
Yeah. Again, this is like that. I feel like this wine, a lot of it is kind of that like higher than medium, lower than medium plus. Yeah. If you want to be generous, go to medium plus. I do think though with a little bit decanting, I think this will open up even further.
Yes, I do regret not having a little bit decanted to try.
Yeah. So I'll definitely put it in the email when I'm sending it out. But with a more decanting in air, I can see this definitely more into medium plus and being even more expressive. But as of right now, I'm gonna call this like high end to medium, low end to medium plus. All right.
With the right food though, this would drastically change. Like
Okay.
barbecue would drastically change the fruit on this.
Yeah.
And and wake it up a little. Just
Of
because
course.
it's charcoal.
Of course. I actually think this should be a fantastic burger wine.
Burger? Oh yeah.
Like
Oh yeah, with some bacon on it.
yeah, like big bacon, steakhouse, like juicy fat patty burger.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think this would be fantastic. All right, conclusion.
Actually, when I go to Georgia, I order Saperavi in a burger.
There you go.
Yeah, usually I'm like, I don't need a Zen. I want this.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, if you're getting shish kebab or kofta and bread and dips, I mean, it's like, kind of like
basically a burger.
Yeah. So, how good is this wine, and would you age it?
I was already starting. Do you want me to do the whole thing again, or you just want me to jump to conclusions?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit it off. You got like, balance, concentration wise, we call it medium plus on the nose. You call it medium, I call it medium plus on the palate. And then complexity, you and I both said it's rather simple. It's mostly in the primary. So like what, medium?
Yeah, medium. And then I would say, yeah, you could age it. I mean, the fruits are there. Before I decided to age it though, I'd want to decant and just see
Yeah, for
what
sure.
that does, and then make that determination. But it's nice to drink now. So you could take it, or you could age it like maybe 5 years tops, and
Yeah,
it goes.
Yeah. So just like everything else we kind of called out, everything is landing in that kind of like higher end of medium, lower to medium plus, being generous. I'm going to call this very good, but I think you landed on good. I think it's perfectly fine calling this. Yeah, drink this now. I think it's fresh. It's drinking well, especially right fire food. That, how do you say that? It'd be great. But with this amount of tannin that's in here, and Saperavi in general lasts quite long, just because all the polyphenols, phenolic compounds that it can extract. So I think this will have no problem kind of for next, I would say, I don't know, 3 to 5 years, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so enjoy it now and then drink it over next 5 years is what I would say about this one.
Yeah, I would say if you have a person who like only drinks cab, and you're like, try this. If you know someone who's obsessed with Zen from California, Tell them to try this.
Yeah.
Like, because that's my favorite thing about all these wines. Most people are like, I don't know anything about this. I don't want to buy it. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
if you are this kind of drinker, you should try this and that and the other. Because I'm just spending all my time with these wines that nobody knows anything about. And it's the best way to get like that barrier broken, because they're like, oh, okay, you know, that's understandable.
Precisely. I mean, it's all about context, reference point, right? Make it easier for people to understand, right?
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you may not be able to pronounce it, you may not recognize the language or what any of this means, but as soon as you taste it, you're like, oh, this tastes just like cabs and whatever that I like. You know, that's how you kind of connect these kind of reference points.
Exactly.
Excellent. What do you think about this wine? I mean, you've had quite a bit of Saperavi over the years, I assume. But
Yeah. Yes, I have.
what
Yeah.
do you what are your thoughts?
I think it's good. I think it's because it's Saperavi, like obviously you wouldn't pull it off the shelf every night, depending on the price point and quantity you could get, but like it's a great midline, approachable sip it, you know, actually I would recommend it with food, but
Yeah.
if you're like the kind that likes to read a book and sip cab, go for it. That's what it's, you know, that's fine too. But yeah, I think it's good. Like it's nice to see the mid-range and that intentionality as well, because you don't, because there's so little communication coming out with the imports, it's nice to know like, oh no, we wanted them to do a 1 month maceration vice their normal 3 months, and you can have that sort of reference point, because again, people don't know enough about it. And I think from the wine importers perspective, they're working really hard, and I'm still getting my finger on Wines of Georgia and like how everyone's connected and doing this together. But like Napa Valley Wine Academy's wine certification on Georgian wine, it was elementary. Like if you know about wine but you don't know about Georgian wine, obviously you're not going to know it. But if you've been to Georgia, you've been drinking a lot of Georgian wine, it's like, okay, good review, good refresher. But I would love to see more intentional exploration established by them, because they're like just pushing all the bottles at the same time. And I understand the tendency to do that, but like there's a reason people do like Petrus verticals. It's not
Yeah.
just because it's Petrus, it's because they're studying evolution of the bottle. And
Yeah.
I think that would be very valuable from a marketing perspective and an education perspective, because sommeliers and, you know, wine educators just don't know the grapes. So understanding how it changes and styles would be a good way for the American market.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
If you want to become a Georgian cheesemonger after you go visit, I'm cool with that, because they have amazing cheese as well.
Ooh. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, honestly, I'm obsessed. I'm fascinated with Georgia now. Like after this month, I'm like, I really want to go there. So
You can come to my house, I'll cook some Georgian food, but there's like this cookbook I have. It's just all the variety.
yes. I want all of that. Yes. Okay. All right. What was I gonna say?
Which is it?
Just reflect on something. But oh yeah, I think this wine also with a slight chill on it, I think would be actually quite nice. But yeah, definitely decant, slight chill, like just a little bit. I just my one is a little bit warm right now, but yeah, just
It's in the basement, so it was at about 50.
oh, that's perfect. Yeah, exactly. I'm talking about 55 degrees, even 60 degrees. That may be too cold, but yeah, that and let's play this game. How much do you think this is on a retail shelf, and how much would you be happy paying for it?
I think it's like 26 on a retail shelf, and
Okay, how much would you be happy paying for it?
I'd be happy paying that.
26?
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, you are in luck then, because this is $22.50.
Oh, it's just a deal.
So Yeah, I mean, given that this is also direct import and they're self-distribute here in DC, so there's some of that too. They're Chicago-based importer, by the way. Tyrannium.
Sure. Yeah, what's the deal with the importer?
They're based out of Chicago. Sasha is the owner. He imports Georgia, Croatia, like does.
Sasha is Russian by birth?
I had no idea. That I do.
Or like,
I've
or
actually
not by
never
birth,
met
but, you know,
Sasha.
of heritage.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know.
I'm gonna
I
find
don't
out
know.
about Sasha because if he's
I mean, I can find out. I only know him through. It's a one-man operation here in DC. Alex, young guy, he does everything. Like he receives the wine, he delivers the wines, he shows the wines. Like he's one guy, young guy, just busting his ass.
Bless him.
So yeah, but
see what I can do.
they're very niche. Like they go to these Eastern European, Central, Europe wines, Eurasian wines, but they're starting to venture out to some French and other things, but really that's the bulk of their wine. Yeah. But so yeah, it's like they don't always sell all their wines, but when somebody's looking for these wines, like they are the person that you go to because no one else has them. So
I love that. I love it.
yeah, so they came through actually 3 out of the 4 bottles came from them. This month.
Perfect. So what'd you say? Just like we need I want to do Georgia box. Help me out.
Exactly. I want to do Georgia box. Like, let's see.
How many wines did you try with him?
Oh, like 18, maybe 20.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Did they have all of them, or were some of them just like, hey, we gotta get
Not
it?
all of them. Yeah, exactly. So there's some inventory issues as well. But some of them are also because I also taste for Case Club. It's not necessarily not going to make it into the box, but it's like, if you have anything that's cool and different, but you think I should taste, bring it over. So yeah, there's some of that. So he brought some of those over. But yeah, again, first time I've done any kind of like a systematic tasting of Georgia. So that's why I was like blown away. I'm like, these wines are so different. And like
it's a trip.
Yeah, it's a trip. So anyways, thank you, Heidi.
Yeah, I will tell you if you see Chef Capito or Tavkveri, and there's one more that I can't pronounce. It starts with an O. Very good. And the blends are usually incredible. Like I'm not usually a person who likes to recommend blends. I'm not a Bordeaux girl, but the blends are masterful there usually. And then white wine, I love Kisi. Kisi is like the Chardonnay of Georgian grapes. It will do anything a winemaker desires, but it's really great on its own. And
yeah, particular one that I wanted was actually the Chachu Valley there, Kisi, but they didn't have enough of it. So that's why I ended up going with the Hickvey. Yeah, Kisi's great. I like Kisi a lot.
It's very rare that they blend. There's only a few like PDO blends in Georgia, and one of them is called Sinandali, and it's basically the Pinot Grigio of Georgia. Like if you get Sinandali, it's fresh, it's bright, it's citrusy, and it's Montreal. Anyway, here for anybody who wants to know more about Georgian wine, and I will send you all the resources and help.
Oh, there you go. If you guys have any questions,
yes, this is literally the goal of my life after I finish working for who I work for.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Heidi, for jumping in. And for the rest of you, happy holidays.
And we'll see you in 2 hours.
Yeah, and then I'll see you in a couple hours. But for the rest of you, I'll see you in the new year because this will be the last tasting of 2024, and I will see you all in 2025
with Argentina.
With Argentina.
Bye.
Bye, Heidi.